faster that matters. So the number one point is acceleration. This is just something I want to talk about is boat preparation. Boat preparation is about free boat speed. So what I mean by that is there's a lot of things you can do that doesn't cost anything that makes a big difference. So one of them is, this is my son's P class. Put the foils on the other day and the bottom gudgeon was out of line. So, we've tipped it over, moved the gudgeon, and just really made sure that the foils are in line. So that there is really a really important thing. There's also a lot of other things that you can do for free speed with your equipment, but your equipment is only one part. The most important part is yourself. So the most expensive piece of equipment on your boat is you. And the biggest thing you guys have been learning the last couple of weeks from Tony Ray, is fitness. So the fitter you are, the faster you'll go. So we all know that. So you guys have been really into that.
We have been talking about fit is fast. So I think if everybody can put that in their mind and fit is fast and work on that, it's going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. So the other things to do. So here with your boat, if it's a little bit out of a line, you can actually make sure that you can, don't trust the boat builders to build you the perfect boat that's in line, because they build 10 Optimists a day or 20 Fevers a week or whatever it is. They just bang them together. This is the stuff you have to do to your boat to make sure it's fast. So there's this. So what you can do is just pack the center case to one side. You don't want any slop or movement in your rudder at all, or so making sure that your connections to your rudder is really good, making sure your centerboard's really good. In the 49ers, they use something called spar bond, which really bonds their centerboards and rudders into their gudgeons or into their rudder stocks and centerboards, just to make sure that they're really tight, there's no slop and all that. The reason why you don't want slop in your centerboard is because when you pull that main sheet on to go off a start line, there's flow or water pushing on your centerboard. If that flops around, then what happens is you don't accelerate as quickly as a boat that's got a tight centerboard in its case, and the flow connects straight away to it. Also out of attack and all those sort of things. So there's a few little things there. Other equipment stuff here, I'm just looking at my notes, is to make sure that your ropes are all perfect length. So an example is say in a Starling or a P-class or anything, make sure when you ease your outhaul, and the pulley hits your boom, it's at the perfect size for going downwind and all that sort of thing, making sure you can get enough kicker on, making sure you've got enough purchases, making sure you've got really good ropes. If you sail an Opti, you want to make sure that for example, your sprit rope is short enough so that when it's fully eased, when that handle's in the cleat on the front, your sprit's fully off, because when you pull it on, you don't want any sprit rope floating at the front causing windage. Other things we can do is the biggest one, and we're lucky in New Zealand, but in many countries, is making sure you talk to your class gurus. So, you guys had someone on about 3 or 4 weeks ago called Simon Cook. Simon's a wealth of knowledge in the fever or the 420 or 470, and he loves to talk. You have, many gurus and many boats that you go and talk to, and they love to talk about, their boats and and what's good. You know, you've got, you know, the liftings at Akarana are about 29ers, and you've got all these gurus that you can just go and, you know, have a chat to learn as much as you can.
Yeah, like also, you know, Simon and Tony Ray will be at the club, you know, quite often. Tony in charge of designing the gym and doing some training programs. So yeah, we probably will see Simon in 2 weeks. So I think
For
sometimes,
example, yeah,
yeah, sometimes for the
I'm down.
sailors, especially the young
Yeah,
ones, is not to be shy to go and ask questions, even any question. You know, like, hey, how do you sail today, and what did you do to win a race? You know?
yeah. So I'm down there. I'm down at Akarana tomorrow from
Yeah.
lunchtime, and we're going to go for a sail. And you know, if you're there, come and have a chat, say hi. You know, it's all good. So the other thing is once you get out of one design classes, so one design classes, Starlings, RS Fever, and all that sort of thing. You know, there's P class and Starling, and you know the Starlings are a little bit one design, but you can do a little bit. You know, just make sure that your mast and sails match. So make sure that you talk to your sail makers or talk to the people that have supplied your sails or whatever. So what you can see here is we did a bend test on a P-class sail. Luckily, I took it to the guy that designed it, and he used we got about 4 or 5 people bend testing the masts. So he could use the numbers. You can see the photo of the P-class there tipped over, and you can see the mast there. That's the average mast bend of 5 P-class masts. So we know that those P-class sails that have been designed match the luff curve perfectly. If you have a sail that doesn't match your mast bend, then you'll go slow. And that's something, again, really easy that coaches or sail makers or someone can really help you with. But don't expect just to buy a sail and for it to match the mast. So over lockdown, I've been learning a lot, and learned a really cool little trick with the Optimist, for example, which is to match the mast. You know, you tie the top ties together, you tie the bottom tie on the mast, but you don't tie any of the mast ties, and you pull your main sheet on, get the mast bend, then you tie the ties up your rig so it matches the mast bend. So there's little things like that, same with the P class and all that sort of thing that you can do. So yeah,
Important thing that, yeah, the guys also, when they, even if they have they get a new sail, to open that sail and have a big look. You know, not everything is perfect. You know, I remember going and racing in the Opti European many years ago, and you know, they give me a boat. It was quite a McLaren boat, was quite new one, and I have to. I saw a couple of details that I didn't like, and I asked for another one. So have a look at your equipment. You know, the sail, the hull, the foils. Even if you buy a new one or a used one, the more the detail you can get there, the faster you're gonna go.
yeah. And also, just one little tip here um, is that with sales, it depends on how you sail the boat. You know, so sail makers might say, hey, here's a designer sail for someone that's between 30 and 36 kilos. But if you're 33 kilos and really fit, you might suit a sail that's suited for a 40-kilo kid. You'll be faster with it, you know. But if you sail in, say, Wellington every single week, right, and it's 30 knots every day, a real flat sail will make you faster. So here's a photo here that I wanted to share with you. And so this is the little things that we look at as coaches and for boat speed. So if you look at this guy, other than looking forwards, is sailing his boat pretty well, right? He's he's got his boat reasonably flat and all that. But if you guys, and I don't know if we can zoom in, Maria, but if you can look at his tiller, can you see that his tiller is getting
Oh,
pulled towards him? Yeah. So for him to go in a straight line, his tiller's pulled towards him. So when we were out testing, this is a new sail that we did for Doyle's a wee while ago. See how that's pulled towards him?
yeah,
What we had to do is to make that, so he's, as you can see, his boom's quite low to the back of the boat there. So he's got his mast raked back a lot, so we can't rake his mast back anymore. So what we did, and this is the things that if you want boat speed, you look at in its balance. So hopefully you guys and girls, when you got taught at Learn to Sail and Learn to Race, is if you have to use your rudder, it's a brake. So here, because his rudder's not straight, it'll be a bit slow. So what we did is just below the top batten, there's a seam that goes across the sail. So this seam here, just below the top batten, we changed that seam, that stripe, that one there, yep, just there, just up a bit. We went in 200 mils and made the sail deeper in the back, right? And that balanced this sail up with this sailor perfectly, and the boat speed was a lot faster. So this is where getting a coach or a local person out there to help you, this is the sort of things that they can help to make you faster. So
yeah, and also like having a coach or having someone that like this can take a photo and actually analyze. You might not realize much that you are using your rudder if you don't have someone looking, and photos are quite good. I just have before we go to the next one, just about mast, Brownie. I have a question here. Before I just maybe something quick we can touch. It says I sail a boat that has upper and lower stays, so you can determine how much bend is in the mast. Will the mast bend match the laugh curve when the sail laid flat? So you can
so that question there from Mark. So it's quite interesting. So again, it is putting this first off, looking up your mast, making sure it's straight side to side, and then it is having a look, putting your so it's then having a look at your sail up the mast and making sure there's no creases coming from the mast towards the back clew corner. So making sure that if there's some wrinkles there, that means the mast bend is wrong. But again, it is if you have a sailmaker close by you, it's then coming to ask them to help have a look at your rig, and opinions are free, so that's pretty cool. Getting help like that's pretty good.
That's quite good. And as you said, it's always good to ask for advice. You probably find a sailor that has a similar mast or a similar sail. So yeah, just the more you can share information, that's the best.
Yeah. So I'm just taking this from an Opti, but it's in all boats. So repetition. So making sure, I don't know if anyone's looked in a 470, but when someone new looks in a 470, their first comment is, oh, there's so many ropes, right? There's a lot of ropes and all that. But you'll also notice that everything there is marked. So we know how much we're pulling on our boom vangle kicker. We know how much we're pulling on our Cunningham. We know that the jib cars, which go forward and back on the boat, we know how much they're coming in. We have marks on our jib sheets, and we have marks for the outhaul. But then you get to the Opti and you have to tie everything up and down. And this
A lot
is,
of different lines, no?
yeah, exactly. It's a bit silly, you know,
And then you move into another class and you don't have those sail ties. But it's quite good for the sailors to understand how they do each sail tie and why. No?
You've got to, yeah, but you've got to have repetition. So here, as you can see, to undo this, we don't undo the knots, we just undo the loops. So each time we can get the sail the same. So we know that the sail is tied up the same. So if we go to the next photo as well, so that's on one mast. If we go to the next one, so this is on another mast again. So what we do here is there's 3 loops for the top one, for example, right? If we want the sail, so we don't untie it each time, but if we want that sail to go out 4 mil, we just make sure that one of those 3 loops in the top isn't put into the wind indicator. So then there'll be only 2 lines in the wind indicator, and then the sail moves out 4 mil, so it's perfect. Again, it's perfect each time. So we're just doing repetition. And repetition is marking up your boats, writing things down. So this here is just a few different boats I sail. So I sail a whole lot of different boats. And this is on top of my toolbox because I take it with me everywhere. So I know, you know, so the one on the far side here is for the is for my sunburst. I've got another one for a 470 and all that sort of thing. So I've just got it all written down so it's there with me so we can make really good repetition with things.
And even you know, so using a sailbook, or the important thing is also find a way that works for you anyway. But you need marks and you need to have notes to set up some standards, and then you can move from there. No.
So the big one is you don't always pull it to that mark, but it's a reference. So if you're going upwind and you know you're in a 420 or a 29er and you've been going pretty damn quick on that first beat, then you go downwind, and instead of going around the bottom mark and going up for the second beat, going, oh, where the heck did I have my kicker? Right, where the heck did I have my kicker? You know it was on that second mark down or wherever, you know. And I know a couple of people that probably sail 29ers on here. A lot of the 49er guys have lines drawn on their sail for where their boom jack for the kicker, their kicker jack goes on, and they see how much kicker they have pulled on. So you can, again, go, oh, second beat, you can adjust it to those marks you had on the first beat, but then you just use it as a reference because the wind may have died a little bit, so you might ease the kicker off that mark a little bit. So
and that's exactly you know, before the lockdown we had in Acarana like we finished developing a quite strong group of 10 lasers, and that's exactly what we were doing so much on the lasers, like putting some marks with, I don't know, permanent marker on part of the main sheet. You need marks on your banks and your kicker. You probably don't do that much now in the Opti, you know, Brownie. But I think when you move into 420, 29 and laser, you have to be focused a lot more on performing on the water, that you cannot be looking much on those marks. No, you need to start somewhere and have some standards.
Exactly, and it's just so you can do repetition. So if we just go to the next one.
Here you put someone working in this one.
It's his boat, not mine.
Oh, so, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So again, it's about free speed. It's about making sure your you know, your boat's clean before you know. So if you travel with a boat somewhere or anywhere that gets road grime on it, even if you have a bottom cover, it always gets dirty. And there was a there's a famous book which is called High Performance Sailing or Higher Performance Sailing. There's two of them, and they're written by Frank Bethwaite. They'll put you to sleep basically straight away because they're pretty technical. But a big tip is he did tow testing of two boats, one that got cleaned and one that didn't after a 500-kilometre trip. And the one that got cleaned was 2% faster. You know, you could, Team New Zealand spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to become 2% faster. So just making sure you clean your boats before the regatta, and every afternoon after sailing, making sure the salt is off the bottom of your boat. It's really, really important.
Also in the morning,
Yeah.
as I put here, you know, during the night, the house got pretty dirty, you know.
Yeah.
Giving a clean in the morning before you actually put the boat in the water.
Yeah, exactly. So and it just depends, you know, like it just depends where you are and how dirty things get. But I wouldn't polish it every day, just clean it with you know, some water and making sure that there's no salt on it. But I always make sure I've sanded my boat with wet and dry up to 1200 grit, and I'll do that before a very major regatta. But I'll also polish the boat after we've been on a road trip before a regatta. And the polish I use is either hull coat or there's a really, you know, anything like that. So hull coat's pretty good. You've got to watch in the Optimist. There's rules around what products you can use, but we just use dishwashing detergent and just making sure it's all clean. The other thing about it is mentally it makes you feel good knowing that you've cleaned your boat and you're ready to go. So
yeah, and also about polish, I think it's something that the sailors have to I always get asked as a coach, do I polish every 3 months or once a year, or how often do I polish? Some sailors get very excited about it, and because the boat look quite shiny and good, but actually I think it's not how it looks, you know, it's how it feels.
yeah, exactly.
And you have to see the hull. And one thing, I mean, it works for me on my lasers is putting the hose water running a little bit on the hull and see how the water run through the surface. So you have to be looking into that and also feeling the boat. I don't know. I don't think it's a rule on how often do you polish.
It's just before you know, something big, and but when you polish or when you sand, just making sure you get rid of all the polish and making sure when you sand, you get rid of all the old paint, you know, that comes off with the sanding. So just making sure it's clean. Just one other thing before we move on is just making sure it's no good polishing. So here we go, wet and dry. So I always wet and dry, definitely, but then I do wet and dry down to 1200 at least. Just because I'm quite, how do you do it, say fussy, I sometimes go down to 2000 grit. But if you use a decent polish, it's like a 3000 grit on a wet and dry. So I always usually just give it a light polish after I've wet and dried, just to make sure you've got all the grime and stuff off. But yeah, definitely wet and drying it first. Just one more thing before we go on to speed technique is just make sure your foils, your centerboard and rudder, and the bottom of your boat is nice and smooth. There's no chips. So with your centerboard and rudder, everyone looks at the trailing edge because it's nice and thin and sharp, but it's actually the leading edge, the front of the centerboard and the front of the rudder where the water attaches. That's the one that's got to be super smooth and super good. So just make sure that's nice and smooth. Cool, let's get on to some videos. So we've talked about getting the boat fast, that's free speed. We've talked about fitness, but then there's also quite a bit of speed technique. So just a little thing with speed technique is, we all know that upwind, a flat boat's good. If you want to get a little bit of pointing, you just lean the boat very, very slightly to leeward, and that will help your point. But again, remember at the very start of this talk, I said that acceleration was the most important part. So just as a gust is about to hit, or a little bit more wind, make sure and takes a lot of time and practice. This isn't a dinghy, that when that hits, you pull the rig just to windward a little bit. So as the gust hits, you pull the rig to windward a little bit. And what that does is it accelerates your rig through the air, your sail through the air, and then you go a bit faster. So we've just got this here. We'll make this full screen again.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh, sorry. Here we go. Get in there. Oops. Yeah, I think that was a quite good diagram to introduction to the videos we're gonna look after.
Here we go. So, here we'll go to that diamond. Everyone loves diamonds. But the upwind technique at the highest level, you need to respond to the gusts and lulls before they hit you. As a gust hits you, you pull the rig to windward to accelerate the rig through the air. So you get that extra acceleration than just the gust hitting you. So what usually happens if you get videoed from behind, or you've got a little GoPro on you and a gust hits, usually your boat leans to leeward and you get nothing out of the gust. So that is something that if you practice looking ahead, and as that gust's about to hit, you start pulling the rig to windward, that'll give you extra acceleration. So that's just a little tip to think about when you get out sailing, hopefully this weekend. One thing just to remember is, if we look at the bottom of this diamond and the top of the diamond, think of that as the bottom mark or the start line, and then the top mark. This is for both upwind and downwind, okay? I hate going up the middle, so that's why we're going out to the sides, right? Kinetic work rate, or your work rate, has to be the hardest the first minute or two off the start line, okay? And then coming in to the top mark, you've got to work really hard, because, that's if it's windy, you're hiking really hard. If it's light, concentrating a little bit more and making sure your steering's perfect, not moving around in the boat too much, right? But also when you go around the top mark, if it's windy and there's waves, working to catch every wave just to get a little bit of separation from the boats around you. And then towards the bottom of the course, as you're coming into a gate or the bottom mark, that then is when you've got to work your hardest, because it's to get a bit of separation around the boats.
That's when you get out to a gate, and that's when all the fleet concentrate. So every millimeter over there, it counts. So probably here you can make another difference, but getting close to the top mark, getting close to marks, that's when every centimeter is important.
Exactly. So there are the places where you work your butt off, right? And your concentration level has to be really high. Cool. We'll go to the next slide.
Excellent. There we go.
Yeah, cool. Right. So here's some videos.
Hopefully. Oh, I think we have a comment. Do we have any question, guys? I don't know if you have any questions on the chat we want to cover. We are good. Righty. Yeah, I think they are quite pretty quiet, but just keep asking some questions.
Oh, it's good. We've got them all muted. It's perfect.
Cool. No, that's good. I think it's not any question. I was just checking, but
yeah,
excellent.
Let's go to the videos and keep this moving.
Excellent. Here we go.
All right.
just added this little one, this part here. You can see. So you can see that, Brownie? Do I?
Yep.
I just add this one just for a personal experience. Just before we go, it's this is probably 1 month after I arrived in New Zealand. I was coaching in Canada and US. I usually coach 420 and lasers and optimists and other classes, not a P class. So I came into New Zealand. And I started working as a head coach in Tauranga Yacht Club, and I was coaching a group of P class, quite good one, like quite a strong team. And you know how we mentioned before about using GoPros, using some people using in front or here, and video yourself to then you can analyze the cell shape, the tunings, the cell controls. And I really, as a personal experience, this was quite useful because I was coaching P class, but I didn't know all the details of the boat. So I jumped in this boat and video myself, and it was quite good to see the details of the thoughts. So I think it's a very good tool to video yourself and analyze everything. Do you do that, Brownie, as well in a couple of dinghies that you sail?
I used to, but yeah, videos and just getting that direct help is really important because it just helps you see. Just making sure though that you don't waste too much time watching videos and that you get out there and actually do it.
Yeah, right. Let's keep going to the next ones.
Yeah. So this here is just an Opti kid. This is in Christchurch. He's really good. And this here is about work rate, boat balance, and working forward and back. So just, that's a bit shaky, but you can see this kid, he's way back in his boat, way forward. So this kid's a bit of a guru. He's about 3 years old, but he's really good. And he just spends hours and hours on his boat. So this guy here, if we just pause it for a second.
You can tell me if we go back to the other one.
No, we'll just pause it. So this guy here, he is the current World Sailor of the Year. He's won 3 Opti Worlds. So he was training, and you'll see the group behind him. And that group behind them, 2 of them got the top 10 at the Opti Worlds, and this kid won it. And they all said that this kid was going to be too big for the Opti and all that sort of thing. But watch him sail. This guy's a guy called Marco Gradoni, and you can see why he was so good. What I really want you guys to watch at with this guy is him going up and down the waves, because when you catch the wave, you won't go faster than the wave. That's the time to make some ground to leeward, and then you come back up to catch it. So again, you can see him going down the wave and he's coming back up. It's a bit glitchy, the video, but you'll get the sort of the points. So, these are all the guys, and these guys are top 10 in the world that far behind them, So, yeah, you get to see it. So again, same kid, 2 years ago. Just, if we just pause it there, Maria, if we can. Again, this is watching, if we just go back a little bit to this, So once we get onto that upwind video, you'll see him. It's what I was talking about again with 470s, 420s, 29ers, pulling the boat to windward as a gust hits. So when we get to that upwind, most of the New Zealand sailors will go, oh, it's only 5 knots. What do you mean a gust? In the light wind, your boat trim is really important. So you'll see this guy moving out a little bit, in a bit, and you can see him really, really picking and trying to accelerate his rig through the air. So we'll play the video and just have a watch.
That's why we always talk about looking a little bit into the micro trimming, even in Optimus, in my experience, some Opti sailors think that is one trimming. And then, as you said, in light wind, they don't trim much, but I think you have to be going into more the detail of the trimming and go a little more inside. Let's see that.
Yeah. So New Zealanders think when it's under 20 knots, it's boring, whereas I think when it's under 8 knots, that's the most trickiest type of sailing.
I think
So
the sailors can see the laugh moving on this downwind, and that's the.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll just keep watching the videos, and the main thing is steering up and down and all that sort of thing, and his body movement. It's a bit jumpy, but you sort of see the thing. Yeah. We'll get on to the next video next, and we'll just keep watching this, then you'll see it. But it's good to see the difference, from the top 10 to the leader of the pack is quite amazing. So here we go again. So you'll see the guy's body weight. You see the boat just pulling to windward just then. It's leaning in. He pulls it to windward as the gust hits. And it's just accelerating. If you look at the mast, it gets pulled just to windward, accelerating his rig through the air, giving him like an extra knot, of wind in his sail. So you can see him really working there and really working the boat. And again, so boat speed, I was talking about technique and I was talking, about boat preparation, but your technique is, again, what I said at the start. You are the most important piece of equipment on your boat, right? So knowing that and your technique makes the boat faster.
So that's made me remember what we talked the last 2 sessions about technique, especially Brownie, and we talk about, your position, your legs, how you are locked in the boat with your legs, with your hands, your back. We talk a little bit about hiking position, even it's not only heavy wind when you need to focus that, medium wind, light wind. So I think that some sailors have been following all these talks. They can rely on into all the technique we look and watch these videos and try to go into the details of, the back, the hands, the legs. And each sailor might have their own way. It's not one way, but it's good to know why you need to sit down in a certain way.
Cool. I'll keep watching. So here is a bit of 470 with a spinnaker up. And again, it's a bit hard to see, but you can see there's a little bit more rolling of the boat to steer the boat up and down the wave. So if you want to go up the wave to catch the wave, you're leading the boat to leeward. And then to go down the wave, you're leading the boat to windward. So, and this is, the pumping flag was up on this occasion, but even if the pumping flag wasn't up, they're still doing everything legally. And they're just trimming the sails, all as one, working together up and down the waves. They've been doing an okay job. That's pretty good. So
it was a roll drive, no? They rolled quite good. They rolled the boat.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, not bad. Can always be better. And that's the thing, right? When you can see these videos and you, that was good, just remember my voice and I will always say, yeah, but it can be better. Because we have never, there's not a glass ceiling with this sport, and it can always be better. So that's pretty cool. So I think we're up to any questions on technique. Like, again, it depends on every boat you sail, and there's certain ways of doing, trimming your sails and all that sort of thing. So there's all that stuff which you'll get from, your class experts. But in general, it's all about that acceleration, upwind and downwind. So that's quite cool. So if we just go to the mental part.
So I remember, we can mention this pretty quick. I remember a question that was about when we watched that downwind video. This is a question I always receive from especially lasers or boats that they sail by the lee, and we always work on the downwind quite a lot. But what you suggest about BMG and going up and down the waves, It's
Yeah.
any key, points that you see on some of those videos?
Yeah, the biggest one is not being too greedy, not staying down the wave as you go down the wave, not staying down the wave too long. Come up before you lose too much speed, because it's way easier to catch the next wave. And then it's going out and trying it. The best thing is if you're in a laser for your VMG downwind, sail against other boats. For your VMG upwind, you can, if you've got two boats there, you can tell one boat, hey, why don't you go low and I'll go high,
Yeah.
and let's see who ends up the best, And VMG changes, so in the light wind, going low and fast is usually better. When it's flat water and there's moderate winds, going high is usually better. If it's wavy and windy, again, going low can be better again. So it just depends on the different conditions for sure.
Right, got it. All the sailors,
Cool.
if anybody have any question, guys, you can unmute yourself as well and ask. I think it was a couple of sailors asking about downwind sailing in the Opti, but yeah, just feel free to write it in the chat or to unmute yourself or to open your video.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll be able to share those videos,
Yeah.
to all these kids and everyone here, just because then you'll be able to see it a little bit better. It'll be a bit easier.
Yeah, I did a YouTube link, so
Yeah,
you
cool.
guys try. Yeah, I will send the material
Cool.
tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll
So
be easier to see. Cool. Right,
yeah,
well, I think we're on to our last subject before everyone goes and gets dinner.
yeah. Let's go to the last one, which we worked a little bit with this before, but I think it's a quite good concept.
Yeah. So the big one for me
Oh
is
no, there we go.
the big one for me is when I'm sitting on the start line and I'm looking at all my competitors, right? If I know I've prepared my boat and I've prepared myself as best as I can, I look around on the start line and I feel pretty damn good. I know I've done all I've done. And what's important about that is that'll make you faster, because if you're too nervous or if you haven't prepared well, you always hold on to your tiller a bit tighter and you always second guess what you're going to do tactically. So, make sure you've done the prepared. You're not pulling your sail in too hard, So in the relaxed state, you always sail your boat faster. I don't know if any of you guys, you probably all have, but heard of Pete Burling and Blair Chook. You see them at the yacht club and they're just relaxed and they're ready to go. But you haven't seen them preparing their boat. They'll arrive late to the yacht club, rig up, go on the water. But they were preparing their boats until 10:30 the night before. They were prepared, so that's good. Right, so the big thing also mentally, right, is if you're in a race, right, and you're making gains, you're going a bit faster than the boat ahead, always take it back to them. So what I mean by that is tack and take your gain back. You still might be behind, but what they do is that boat in front of you looks behind and goes, oh crap, Brownie's catching up to me. Oh no. And they focus on you and not themselves. That makes you faster. So when you get into the Olympic level, there's a whole psychology of how you play the game. And it's how you get into the minds of the other sailors and really get them worried. Because the more worried they get, when they get stressed out, you just don't sail your boat as well. You second guess. When you're a bit relaxed or you're making gains or you're sailing the boat a bit faster than the others, right? They're looking over their shoulders, worried about you, and therefore not focusing on themselves. You're focusing on yourself, therefore you're faster. So that there is a massive thing. And that's how I think, and this is just to give a bit of psychology about boat speed, that's how I'm thinking all the time. Okay, I'm catching this guy, I'm going to be able to pass them, they're worried, right? So that's the whole, how you should be racing is you've got to race hard, you know.
And
Another
also
thing,
it's a lot of, as we're talking in the other lesson, it's a lot of preparation that you have to do. You know, when the day before you finish the race, you probably go home, you know, have some dinner and think about, make some notes, few notes in your book, just think about the day. um, but the next day you probably see many good sailors, you know, Olympic sailors. Yeah, they maybe, you know, especially, you know, how you were listening, Tony Reid the other day, Volvo Ocean Race, America's Cup sailors, you know, they might turn up to the club at 9, but they probably had been working from 7. So like, you know, waking up, having a good breakfast, checking the forecast, as we talked last Thursday, doing stretching, doing some work before you turn up to the club. So,
exactly.
so
Yeah. So we just had a question. What if you're being caught up? Well, you've got to analyze why you caught up, or you go, hey, I'm getting caught up. Instead of looking at them, look at your rig going, oh, hey, I'm getting tense, I'm oversheeting the main sheet. I'll just ease the main sheet out again. So if you're getting caught up, that's the indicator for you not to get worried about the other boat, but to check in on what you're doing with your boat to make it slower. Or, hey, I just missed a shift. Once I get the next shift, I'll gain on them again. So, you know, if there was a contraption that could sort of, you know, read my mind when I'm racing, there's a lot of positive talk that's always going on.
yeah.
And I know, for an example, even just by, because we put listening devices in double-handed boats, and you can tell by a lot of chat that goes on, a lot of time when people are getting past or they're losing, the tone goes negative, and just really being positive. And you know, positive for boat speed is, you know, is really important.
And yeah,
I'm just
I probably, you know, you can ask many coaches, and I think we all, at least I really see this in the sailors. You can see when a sailor is, you know, is not feeling well, is stressed, is nervous, is worried. So it's not coincidence that some sailors that they might be in the bottom of the race, they are attacking too many times, they are making many mistakes if they are not feeling quite confident. So, you know, coaching some lasers, it's other sailors, it's important that, you know, if you are on the bottom, if you are not having a good race, just find the techniques that work for you. Like for me, it was always, it is always, okay, focus on my breath. Like, you know, okay, now I'm gonna start, you know, giving big breath, relaxing, you know. And a laser, it was about not grabbing the main sheet and the delay extension like very hard with my hands. It was trying to grab the main sheet with 2 fingers and the delay extension with 2 fingers to getting that feeling. So that was a couple of ways to relax and not be too stressed when you are not doing a good race. You know, resetting, thinking like, you know, you say, Brownie, okay, I'm gonna catch this guy. Okay, you're coming 50 in a race. Okay, reset. I'm gonna catch 5 boats, and then after that, I'm gonna catch another 5. So there are a couple of techniques, and I think it's good that each sailor find the one that works for them.
yeah.
What
And
what do you?
just to remember also that one position, so say you're coming 15th in a race, or 25th or 30th or whatever, that one place may mean everything. So I was coaching in 2016, and they won't mind me saying this, but at the Paralympics for New Zealand, and there I was coaching a sonar team and going really, really well. And they finished in the end third equal, but fourth on count back, right? So they missed out on a bronze medal, last ever Paralympic Games, so they're never going to get another chance, right? And even at that level, which is really high, they had 10 races, they beat themselves up because they knew they gave away at least more than one spot, one place around the race course because they weren't relaxed enough or whatever. So just went on behind. It's again that positive talk, this one spot may mean everything.
So related to that, the first session that we did a little bit of mental skills. And this is what we showed to the sailors, just for them to go to this before we finish. So you can see this poster a little deeply, and you will receive this. But it was quite useful to bring this a little bit again, because it just for the sailors and for all of us when we race, try to find what's the green zone and how to stay there the longest. So work on those techniques, and you might go from green to red, which is, red is more when you feel more pressure and it's too much to handle. And then the blue is more when you are too relaxed or you don't see some obstacles. So have a look at this poster, and I think yes, good that you find techniques, or ask your coach, or ask all these good sailors that you will find in your club. What do you do to keep motivated when you are in the bottom of the fleet, or when you are not having a good regatta? A question that I remember doing a lot to a Olympic gear sailor in radial was, how do you manage your mental skills when you are in the front? No. So just go and ask some questions, and keep reading about this. Mental.
So one thing everyone's heard about the All Blacks, and that's one thing they all did is they would yell out to their teammates, "Hey, you're a redhead, get to green," right? And as teammates, we do that a bit with the double-handed boats or whatever is, you never want to be in that red zone. The blue zone is better than the red zone, but the green zone's the best.
And
so I just had a private question come through on chat, which we'll definitely answer in the little debrief that Maria will send out. And that's about, that what I just said before is, when it's light and flat water, going high or low or whatever. And Maria and I will work on that and send that out to everyone as well. So that's no problem.
Excellent.
Nice.
I think
that's it from me.
Yeah, another comment, but yeah, you will receive that poster, and I think the last page for me is really important. Some sailors think about fitness, like body fitness, and we talk a lot about these online programs about, work a lot your body fitness, your physical fitness, and your mental fitness. Even if you're an opti sailor or any junior sailor, it's a lot of techniques to go and find. When in that green, and that blue zone that you want to find is exactly what we talk about, turning up to the starting line with totally confidence that you did all the homework, that you did all the preparation. Like how confident you turn up to the starting line and you are looking all your competitors and you're analyzing the first upwind. You have to do a lot how you prepare. Your mind, it's pays a lot on that. So yeah, if you go there and you feel you did all the best homework and on land, or when you wake up you did some stretching, you have a good breakfast as you always have, I think you get that to the first race, to the starting line with a lot more confidence, and doing all the boat preparation as we talk today. Right. I think it was it was a quite good chat. If we don't have any other question, guys, it was really good to see you. Any other last suggestion, Brownie, for these
No, just
sailors?
for the guys in New Zealand, use the time now, and you can't beat that old adage of time on the water. Just get out there, have a plan, and be smart and hit it hard. You know, and yeah, it'll be great. Well done.
Yeah, and I think it's good. It will be great, guys, to see you all hitting the water. Especially guys, we know for a Karana sailor, we will start coaching pretty soon. Will be one day of coaching, but this the other day. We really want to see sailors hitting the water. We have here a sailor from 7 different clubs. Just time on the water. You can go and talk with so many good sailors, and they will all tell you in the junior and youth classes. Main thing was spending time on the water, and then of course having good coaching, analyze